In the first 7 seconds of meeting you, a stranger's brain has already decided if you're competent, trustworthy, and worth their time. That judgment is made before you say a single word, and the terrifying part? Most people have no idea they're being evaluated, let alone how to control the outcome. At the end of my last video, I told you I was making a follow-up on the psychology of first impressions, and specifically how elite performers engineer how they're perceived in those critical opening seconds. Let's get into it. Here's what most people get wrong. They think first impressions are about what you say. They're not. They're almost entirely about what you signal before you speak. Your posture, your pace, your energy, the way you move through a space, and the way you make other people feel in your presence. These are controllable variables. And today, I'm giving you 5 of them. The first principle is what I call controlled entrance energy. Research from Princeton University found that people form judgments about competence and trustworthiness in as little as 100 milliseconds, a tenth of a second, based on facial expression and body language alone. That means before you shake a hand, before you say your name, the impression is already forming. The mistake most people make is entering a room in a reactive state, scanning for threats, looking for approval, adjusting to the energy already in the room. High performers do the opposite. They set the energy of the room the moment they enter. They move slower than feels natural. They make deliberate eye contact before speaking. They don't rush to fill the silence of their own entrance. This signals something very specific to every brain in the room. This person is not anxious, and calm in any social context reads as power. The practice. Before your next important meeting, presentation, or social event, pause for 3 full seconds outside the door. Take 1 slow breath. Set your pace to 20% slower than your instinct. Walk in like you've been there 100 times. Watch how the room responds differently. The second principle is called selective eye contact, and this is one of the most misunderstood tools in social psychology. Most people have been told, make eye contact to build trust. That's true. But there's a version of eye contact that goes beyond trust. It creates presence. And presence is what separates someone memorable from someone forgettable. The pattern used by every naturally magnetic person I've studied is this. When listening, they hold eye contact longer than feels comfortable, usually 70 to 80% of the time. When speaking, they break eye contact occasionally, specifically when making a key point, looking away briefly as if accessing a deep thought, then re-engaging. This rhythm creates the impression of depth, of someone who thinks before they speak rather than performing confidence. And the brain reads depth as authority. The dark psychology dimension of this, intense, unbroken eye contact, is also the dominant tactic of narcissists and high-control personalities. The difference is in the warmth of the expression. Eye contact with softness around the eyes reads as interest. Eye contact with a flat or slightly tense expression reads as dominance or threat. Be deliberate about what you're communicating. The third principle is the power of using someone's name, and using it wrong is worse than not using it at all. Dale Carnegie wrote about this 90 years ago, and neuroscience has since confirmed it. Hearing your own name activates a distinct response in the brain. It creates a feeling of recognition, of being seen. In a first impression, it's one of the fastest ways to create genuine connection. But here's the dark psychology version nobody talks about. The most influential communicators don't just use your name, they use it at a specific moment, not right away, which feels performative, not constantly, which feels manipulative. They use it once, at the exact moment they make their most important point. And here's what I think you should consider. Name. That pairing, name plus key point, embeds the message differently than anything else. It feels personal because it is. We're halfway through. The next 2 principles are the ones that are almost never discussed openly because they feel counterintuitive, but they're the ones that will have the biggest immediate impact on how you're perceived from the moment you meet someone new. The fourth principle is what researchers call the pratfall effect in reverse. I touched on strategic vulnerability in the last video, but there's a specific application for first impressions that works differently. In a first encounter, the instinct is to present your strongest self, to lead with credentials, confidence, capability. And that's correct, up to a point. The problem is that a flawless first impression triggers skepticism. The brain is pattern matching for authenticity, and a person with no rough edges reads as a performance, not a person. The elite level move is to introduce one deliberate small imperfection early, a moment of honest self-deprecation, a brief admission of something you don't know, not a weakness, a human moment. I'll be honest, this is not my strongest area, but here's how I think about it. What this does is counterintuitive. It makes everything else you say more credible. The brain has verified you as real, so it lowers its defenses for everything that follows. This is not a vulnerability. It is a trust accelerant. The fifth and final principle is the most powerful and the least obvious. It's called the exit impression, and almost no one thinks about it. Here's the psychological truth. People don't remember the middle of an experience. They remember the beginning and the end. This is called the peak-end rule, and it applies to every interaction you have. The last 30 seconds of your time with someone carries almost as much weight as the first 7. Most people let conversations end randomly. They trail off. They say, "We should catch up soon." They look at their phone. High-status communicators engineer their exit. They close with something specific and forward-looking, a reference to something said earlier in the conversation, a direct statement of intent, or a question that implies a next meeting. "I want to come back to what you said about X. I think there's something important there." That's not small talk. That's an open loop, and the brain will keep thinking about you long after you've left the room. Here's the bigger picture. Everything I've just shown you is already happening in every interaction you're part of. The entrance energy is being read. The eye contact is being decoded. Your name is being used or not used deliberately by the people who understand this. The exit is being managed by one of you. And if it's not you, it's them. This is why I keep coming back to the same core idea. The difference between someone who succeeds at the highest level and someone who doesn't isn't intelligence, isn't talent, and most of the time isn't even effort. It's awareness of the invisible game being played in every human interaction and the discipline to play it intentionally. You now have the playbook for the first 7 seconds and the last 30. Everything in between is just content. Make the frame count. If you want to go deeper on this, I'm building out this series on the dark psychology of success. Next, I want to cover the psychology of how elite communicators handle conflict and disagreement without losing status or relationships. If that's something you want to see, comment conflict below. Subscribe if you haven't, and I'll see you in the next one.